Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. So let's try this all over again. Let's call the meeting to order. Tonight we have Spanish translator Enrique Montalvo. For those who would like to attend the meeting virtually in Spanish, that option is available. Enrique, would you please communicate that for us this evening? Thank you.
Buenas noches, tenemos a nuestro intérprete de español para la reunión de esta noche. Para aquellos de ustedes que quieran asistir a la reunión en español, esta opción está disponible. Gracias.
And we've opened that available. Okay. So if you wish to view closed captions of this meeting, please view the meeting on the San Mateo Union High School District Board Meeting YouTube channel. The link to the YouTube channel can be found on our website. You may view the captions in English as well as live stream our meeting tonight, and you may view the captions in a variety of other languages if you choose to watch after the meeting has ended. Viewers may request additional accommodations by calling 650-558-2201. For our deaf and hard of hearing community, we have a team from Hannah Interpreting Services, and they will be interpreting our meeting for this evening. We would like to ask everyone to speak clearly and at a reasonable pace for our interpreters. Thank you. Now I'm going to go to the agenda. I should do roll call again, or? So I'm just going to do roll call. Trustee Jacobson?
Present.
Trustee Chavez?
Here.
Trustees Griffin?
Present.
Trustee Zuniga? Andrade Zuniga. And Trustee Land, I'm here. Excellent. Okay, so reports out of closed session. We have in closed session, the board, upon motion of Trustee Griffin and seconded by Trustee Chavez, moved to approve special education settlements with a vote of 5-0. Stipulated expulsion. In closed session, the board, upon motion of Trustee Chavez and seconded by Trustee Jacobson, moved to approve the stipulated expulsion with a vote of 5-0. For the stay of expulsion hearing, in closed session, the board, upon motion of Trustee Andrade Zuniga and seconded by Trustee Jacobson, moved to postpone the expulsion hearing with a vote of 5-0. All right, that's the report of closed session. Moving on to the next. Here's the language for public comments. This is a public meeting of the San Mateo Union High School District Board of Trustees. If you are joining us in person and wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during public comment section at the beginning of this agenda, please fill out a request to address the board form and submit it to the secretary. This form should be given to the secretary before the agenda item begins. If you are joining us virtually, you can use the raised hand feature on the Zoom to be recognized. When invited to do so by the board president for each item on which you wish to comment, you will be admitted to speak as a panelist during your public comment period. The board president will call on you. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board president may increase or decrease the time allotted for public comment depending upon the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. Okay. Yes. Well, we're getting there. I'm just had to report out that and then that comments and public comments. And now we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. So who's be my guest.
Okay. I'll do it. Lead the pledge tonight.
Pledge
and then we'll
tonight.
grab someone else.
There we
next
go.
time. Okay.
Perfect.
I pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, I am looking at 2 separate items. So I'm looking at 2 separate things that I had to report out on. So I hear what you're saying because now I see where you're talking about. Because now we're open to public comments. Is there any public comments? Okay. Moving on to governing board comments. Is there any governing board comments? Anyone like to speak?
I have some comments.
Trustee Zuniga.
Thank you. I first want to acknowledge the land on which we're currently occupied is the traditional territory of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. I wanted to say thank you to Superintendent Booker and to the staff and students and everyone in our district that has made this whole flooding and rain issue go really, really smoothly. I know that there's been a lot of people that have been impacted. And I'm grateful that we were able to have everything run smoothly. So thank you. For people that have been impacted by the storms, smc.org, the county website, has a lot of great resources. For people with disabilities, the Center for Independence of Individuals with Disabilities, they are a part of a network of folks throughout the state of California that will provide emergency services to folks with disabilities. Also, tomorrow from 12 to 2 at the College of San Mateo, they will be distributing food for anybody who needs it. It doesn't matter if you're a student there or not. You could just pull up and they'll load your car. Also, Tuesday, January 17th, from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at the Redwood City Public Library, the Sheriff's Office and PCRC will be hosting a Parent Project series, which will be a 12-week series for Spanish-speaking parents. Dinner and childcare will be provided. And it's about like how to talk to your kids and how to get a good relationship going. Also, there's the Youth Leadership Forum, which is a conference for students with disabilities in every summer in August usually or July. They're housed at the Sacramento State University. They're taking applications still. The deadline, they extended it to March 17th. So if anybody knows any students that have disabilities that are sophomores, juniors, and seniors during the school year, go ahead and apply at that website. Also, there's the Transition to Independence Fair on February 4th from 10 to 2 at El Camino High School. It's targeting students that are youth transitioning into adulthood that have disabilities. And then Wednesday, January 25th, the San Mateo Foster City School District, along with Fly and Reach Coalition, will be hosting a workshop called Dismantling the School to Prison Pipeline. It'll be from 5:30 to 7 at the San Mateo Foster City School District office, 1170 Chest Drive in Foster City. Again, dinner and childcare will be provided, as well as Spanish interpretation. And then that's it. The ACLU is looking for students that are interested in joining the youth committee with the ACLU. Thank you to our Spanish interpreter and our ASL interpreters for their services tonight. I have office hours on Saturdays from 1 to 3 if anyone's interested. And I just wanted to lastly mention that in the Daily Journal, there's a student named Elise Spenner that usually writes op-eds. And she wrote a really good op-ed this week about what New Year's resolutions mean to us. And it really went along with like what our values are. And I just wanted to say, since it's Board Member Appreciation Month, I wanted to just say how appreciative I am of my colleagues, and also how our values always come back to why we're here, because we love the district, we love the students. And so thank you. That's it. Finally.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Zuniga. Any other comments from the board?
Okay,
Bob?
I have an unusual long list because I have 3 whole comments and I normally don't even have one. So good evening, everyone. On Monday, we're celebrating the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's a national holiday. It was hard fought to get the holiday. And today, to me, it appears the holiday has now just become another excuse to take a long weekend. Over the years, the number of celebrations and commemorations have just continued to dwindle. 2023 is the 60th anniversary of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, which occurred in August of '63. The speech was a defining moment of the civil rights movement and among the most iconic speeches in American history. here we are 60 years later, and it appears as though very little has changed since 1963, and the struggle continues. So anyway, a couple of other points. One of them, sometime when Peter Hanley was president, he had a long paper on violence. And so I really abhor the violence that continues to plague our schools and our society. We have to make it a national priority to make our schools safer, our students and our employees. And I'm referring to that incident in Virginia, which I think was just a total tragedy. Okay, and finally, I sat through a budget workshop with CSBA last night to see how we were going to be impacted. And I think it's not as bad as it could have been. And that's probably, the glass is half full and not half empty. And so I'm looking forward to a report on that. So anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members for comments? All right, I'm going to take a turn, just a real short one. So first, thank you for acknowledging that as Board Appreciation Month. As president of the San Mateo School Boards Association, I was going to say something along those lines. But just as a reminder to new board members, we are having our new board member orientation. You all are welcome to join, even though I know some of you are veterans, on January 21st at Sierra Monte, the housing project that's done by Jefferson Union High School. It's from 8 to 12. And it's in Daly City. If you need any details, let me know. Also, our next San Mateo School Boards Association dinner will be on impacting equity, and it's going to be on February 27th, and it is at 6:30. Location still to be determined. I think we're trying to get Kenyatta College is the place. So I wasn't going to bring this up, but I'm glad Trustee Griffin did. Martin Luther King, I think when we have holidays and acknowledge it, it does get lost sometimes. And I just want to bring up an old memory that I had as a teacher. I was a third grade teacher in East Los Angeles, and every year I would have my students do a reader's theater on I Have a Dream speech. And it just indelible in my head every time listening to a group of third graders speak out that speech. And it just gets me every time. So it's just something that I think like you said, it's iconic, and I wish we can make an impact and really live those words. And anyway, without further ado, we are going to get to our agenda. Next on the agenda is communication to the Board of Trustees. Any communications?
No.
Nope. Okay. Next on the agenda. Sorry, I just got out of my agenda.
I think the
Public comments. No.
volleyball's next.
Going down. Recognition. All right. Yes. So I'm going to turn to recognition for the Aragon High School volleyball team, CCS champions. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, President Land. So this evening we have head coach Annette Gennaro Trimble and the Aragon CCS champs volleyball team. Yeah. And they're here with us tonight to be recognized. And before I invite Coach up to say a few words, I do want to recognize how long the season is, how much effort that you put in year round. I know it's not just a fall season, fall season of effort. It's summer conditioning and spring training and, all of those kinds of things, and the countless hours you put in and the teamwork and camaraderie. Championships aren't earned just by talent alone, but it's really through that sense of teamwork and companionship and connection that I think teams really get to that next level. So congratulations from San Mateo Union High School District. And with that, I want to introduce your coach to come up and say a few words.
Thank you so much. My name's Annette Gennaro, in case you didn't know who I am. I haven't been here for a bit. But this is our girls team, and I would just like to congratulate them. They are a historic team at Aragon, and they are the first team to win not just the PAL, but also CCS. We have not won the PAL championship in 21 years.
Wow.
And every time a team has won the PAL, they've never won CCS, or they won CCS and they never won PAL. So this team is historic in that sense. They also were the first team to run a fundraiser, the Dig Pink. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with it, but it's for breast cancer, and they raised over $2,000 on their own. And these girls ran it on their own. I said, "Do you tell me what you want? I'll support you." And they did it on their own. So this team is very special. They listened to our coaches, my other coaches here, Jason Kwan tonight. When we told them that volleyball is a second family, and they believed us, they supported each other off and on the court. We went through some things and they were there for each other. And you're 100% correct. When you talk about a team and winning, you need the talent, but you need more than that. And these girls had it all season long, and I'm very, very proud of them. So we will announce them. Would you like to stand individually? We'll go down the line. Grace, you're first. Grace and I. Stand up, kiddo. Woo-hoo. Her sister, Leah and I. Hector Kwan. Jordan Lee. Izzy Bartlewski. Lauren Malloy. Luciana Lewis. Mercedes Alusa. Ari Guton. And lastly, Jess Castrovejo. So congratulations, girls. I'll talk to you outside and you'll probably be screaming when we get out there, but I'm really proud of you. I remember the important things are what we talked about the girls sitting next to you and what you're going to remember for the rest of your life are those connections. So congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you want to get a picture? So can we get a picture? Girls. Wait, we want a picture of all you in right here.
Are there? That's great.
On volleyball, only the setters. The setter.
Hey, Greg.
And then your folks are gonna slide in and they're gonna take their.
Yeah,
Oh,
nice. Keep smiling. Ladies, congratulations and thank you so much. Awesome job. Okay, the fun part of the meeting's done. We're gone. No.
back to business.
All right. The fun just left the room. I mean, hi, you guys. Congratulations again. Okay, next is consent agenda. Any motion or need to take anything off the agenda? Consent?
If there's no discussion, I'll move for approval.
Okay. A move for approval of the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
And then there's a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Abstentions? Hearing none. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Okay, let's get to regular reports. Report of the superintendent. Report of the superintendent.
Thank you. So just a couple of announcements. First of all, like we've talked about, January is School Board Recognition Month. And so on behalf of our staff here at San Mateo Union, I'd like to express our gratitude for our board members who are dedicated to improving the lives of our students. Our community is so fortunate to have a board of trustees who is committed to focusing resources on the students with the most needs to ensure they thrive by creating educational experiences to improve student outcomes. When I came to the district, you all impressed upon me the importance of disruption in order to improve certain outcomes, and our school communities owe you a debt of gratitude for shining a light on this important and difficult work. Thank you for entrusting me and the rest of our team here to take this on and to ensure that our students succeed. I know this job that you all volunteered to do is important and weighty. I know you put the work in, and a lot of that goes, unmentioned or unsung. And so I just want to take a moment to thank all of you for that work. It is a tremendous amount of work. And, we're in as I've told staff right now, we're in the good times, right? We don't have 300 parents banging down the door. We don't have crises. But school districts, it's kind of cyclical, right? And so that can come sometimes. Those crises inevitably come. And so I'm feel so fortunate, and I've actually used this word many, many times when people ask me about what it's like to work here and work with this board. I feel blessed. I feel blessed to be surrounded by such smart and dedicated and talented individuals. So thank you so much. Congratulations. And I just look forward to working with all of you for a really long time. So thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so another announcement, and Bob, you talked a little bit about this, but I want, and Greg, you did too. I want to add a little though, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Monday, January 16th. I've looked at this day and I've talked to my own kids about this and students when I interact. I mean, it's a day of service, really. I've always looked at it as a day of service, a day of community service. And I know we have so many students and educators and families out there that look at it the same way, that's the way they honor Martin Luther King's spirit and legacy, and they honor it through their communities across our broad community and beyond. Here. And so I want to encourage our families and our students and educators to really look at that day as a day of service in ways that they can give back, little and big. And especially for our students that have younger siblings, it's a great opportunity for our students to share and impart the importance of that day of service on the young ones, right? And so that they can carry that forward too. So I want to encourage all of us to look at Monday as a day of service. And then we have someone on Zoom coming in. She's there. There she is. All right. So we've got Monica Nagy. She's the interim assistant principal at Cappuccino High School. She's covering for Monique while she's on maternity leave. And so I wanted to welcome you, Monica, and I know Jose's here as well. But I want to say a little bit about you from what I've learned and heard. She has a rich history of school and district leadership. She served as principal at various schools in Rhode Island and California. Most recently was the principal of New Traditions Elementary School in South San Francisco Unified School District. For the past 2 years, she's been a principal coach, mentoring administrators in the Bay Area while working for the Principal Leadership Institute at the University of California, Berkeley. She's equity-focused educator and describes one of her professional passions as mentoring others to reach their full potential. She's a hands-on leader who loves assisting teachers in the classroom and leading professional learning communities. She holds a doctorate in educational leadership, and she's also fluent in French and has taught French and English in Paris and Dundee, Scotland. So we're so fortunate, so fortunate to have you joining our team, even if it's for a short time. So thank you so much, Monica. I know you're going to have a great time at CAP, and they're just going to benefit from your leadership. So welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to say really quickly, a good evening to everyone and Happy New Year. I look forward to meeting the Board of Trustees, the Superintendent, and the Cabinet in person. And also, I want to say hi to any San Mateo community members who might still be in the audience, if there's anyone there. It really is my pleasure to work with the Cappuccino High School team under the leadership of Principal Gomez. I've been warmly welcomed there this week, and I'm getting to know the students and the greater community every day. The students and the teachers, I learn something new every day. I remember someone's name every day. And I just really feeling a part of the community very quickly. So I really want to thank you so much for this opportunity to serve you. And as I said, I look forward to meeting you in person. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. Okay.
That's all of it.
All right.
So handing it back off to you.
All right, Monica, all the best. All right. Okay, moving on. Our next report is the report of the District Teachers Association representative. Hey.
Hi. Hey, hi. Good evening, President Land and members of the board, district cabinet. First, again, like many others, Happy New Year. It's really good to be back. Despite many of our students being reluctant to be back in the classroom, it still is exciting and always, there are always new things to talk about in a new semester. So it's exhilarating in every way, even after 30 years of teaching. I do want to commend the staff, classified probably most of all, but of course, administrators and of course, our certificated staff for the difficult time that we've had with the storm. I think Trustee Zuniga said it well in that we, everybody stepped up and did so much to make sure that things move smoothly and were not impacted to a great degree. I know that some of the schools, Burlingame and Hillsdale specifically, Burlingame with water and Hillsdale with power in the last couple of weeks have had some specific difficulty, and the staffs at both of those schools have really stepped up and responded in a meaningful way to support students and student learning. Tonight, I'd like to recognize Mr. Wetzelgreen and his colleagues for their work for the new IB math course, not only for the work towards excellence in math instruction, but really for their steadfast striving for equity and authenticity, which of course aligns with our district goals. So I really do commend them and hope that wish them the best in terms of moving forward. I really enjoyed reading the statements of bright spots and surprises because that's really what student learning is all about. And finally, for the school board trustees, I'll make an informal invite tonight, but a formal invitation will be coming later. On February 4th, CTA has an annual school board trustee breakfast at which trustees from around the county can meet with their counterparts as well as association representatives from those districts and coordinate and network. And it's really a great opportunity. It's fun where we can set aside our differences and strive for camaraderie and collaboration. So that will be on February 4th at 9 a.m. in Burlingame. And again, a formal invitation will be forthcoming. And with that, I'm complete with my comments, and I again wish you a happy new year and thank you very much.
Thank you. Craig, just really quickly, could you send me the information and I can spread it out to the San Mateo School Boards Association as well?
I will do. Thanks.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Next on our agenda is report of CSE Chapter 519 representative. I think you're still muted.
I
There you
got
go.
it this time.
You got it. Good job. Excellent.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. I'd like to thank everyone for letting us have a minute or so to comment this evening. Thank you very much, President Childress, for giving positive words about all this extra support the classified staff did during the storms. I appreciate you saying something because they absolutely did. And I'm always very proud and amazed at the skill sets that we are so lucky to have. I'm very excited that we have a classified PD day coming up on the 30th and 31st. In my small world of maintenance and operations facilities use, I didn't realize that there was a whole world of additional classified employees, which is good, I guess now, especially because I'm president of the CSCA, but we will all be together for this training. And I love that it's set up to help us embrace our differences and ethnicities. And it would just be a lot of learning and healing and celebrating who we are. And that's really, what MLK was all about. And it's a feel good sort of a day. I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you very much. I look forward to being president for another year and supporting all my classified staff and be support for whoever needs any additional help, or if you need information from me, contact me at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Our next report is from the San Mateo Adult School Teachers Association.
Hello, and good evening to the board and all of those who are in attendance, because since I'm on Zoom, I'm not exactly sure who's there. Happy Thursday and happy 2023. Yay! So excited. 2022 was a great year, but I think 2023 is going to be even better. My name is Lynette Garcia, and I'm the Career Education Coordinator, and I'm here to report some of the wonderful things that we have done at the San Mateo Adult School. with our last semester as well as our upcoming semester. Something that I did want to give recognition to is we at San Mateo Adult School, we fulfill needs. It's what we do. During the Christmas season, we hosted a flash coat drive with Senator Becker's office, as well as a food drive for the Bel Air Elementary School. I want to give credit and leadership kudos to Lisa Sparks, our ESL coordinator. Because of her efforts, it was a huge success. Lisa, if you're out there and listening, thank you. Thank you so much. Jessica Giambrono, our high school low advanced instructor, delivered the coats to Senator Becker's office, as well as assisted with the food to the Bel Air Elementary School was delivered after we completed our registration week. Those of you that don't know, our ESL registration is it's a bit. It takes a lot of effort, and we sailed through that for the Christmas season. Thank you to our fabulous instructors, our students, our staff for coming together to make the flash drive happen. Bravo. Please go to our website. There are some really cool pictures that it almost looked like a grocery store. That's how well we did. Our ESL career education, as well as our active adult class schedules and their links are up for the spring 2023 season. We're ready and we're very excited. 2023 promises to be a great semester for the spring. As you all know, it's a little bit challenging finding instructors and staff for the schools. So we are so excited to announce and welcome Yesenia Contreras. She is our ASE coordinator as well as counselor, which that's our high school diploma and GED. Okay, we're excited and happy to have her on our team. I did want to share some highlights with our career education. With our career education program between the summer and the fall 2020 semesters, we added 5 new workforce ready programs. Excel Certification 1. In the spring, we're launching Excel Certification 2. We have a medical coding and billing program, dental rover sterilization technician program. We've also incorporated phlebotomy technician in addition to our medical clinical medical assisting program, as well as introduction to medical terminology. Those were the new classes that we launched last year at the end of the year. In partnership with the city of San Mateo, we are relaunching the ESL City Government Academy. Yay! It's such a great class. I think everybody should take the City Government Academy. Not necessarily ours, because you have to be a student at the school, but they do have one through the city of San Mateo. It's a huge opportunity. Our program is specifically designed to expand our participants' awareness of local government, city services, and to really increase civic engagement, leadership, and volunteering. The first class was today. We have 7 field trips and then in-class debriefing. What it does is it really helps to prepare our students to engage further with the city. They feel more empowered and comfortable to access city services, as well as expand the students' network for future civic engagement efforts to include volunteering and job opportunities. For 2023, we'll be focusing our attention on our active adults, our career education, as well as our high school diploma. Remember, active adult is for everybody. So we would like to see more adults out there and within our program. And we give great thanks to the board for lowering the elective requirement credits for the students so that they can get their high school diploma. It made it a little bit easier for them, and it really helped a lot. And remember, that was just elective requirements, not core requirements. Core requirements remain the same. And because of that shift, it made high school diplomas and GEDs much more attainable, because for a lot of the courses, you actually have to have your high school diploma and your GED. Okay, so with career education, we look forward to creating additional workforce opportunities and programs for our students to thrive and prosper. I thank you very much for your time. Happy holidays, and may 2023 be prosperous and abundant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving along in the agenda, next section is Q, Division of Instructional Services. And our agenda item is approval of the pre-IB Math 3 pilot course proposal. Dr. Kim. Dr.
Good
Kemke.
evening. Good evening. I think actually we're on special presentations, spotlight
okay.
on student learning.
Interesting. Oh, I'm cutting myself ahead. You're right.
Okay.
I stand corrected. It's special reports on appearances.
So I'm very
need my
excited
glasses.
to introduce Principal Jose Gomez and our math coordinator, department chair from Cappuccino, Dan Wexelgreen. We're going to present on this topic, and it actually is going to foreshadow the approval item. So they're going to speak about some of the amazing things they're doing at Cappuccino High School in their math program. You're going to hear a little bit about the system change that they've done, as well as what's going on in their classroom. So with no further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Principal Gomez. You should be able to.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the introduction. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Booker. Before I begin with my presentation, I would just like to congratulate and welcome the two new trustees to the SMUHSD Union District family. So, and look forward to getting to know you a little bit more and working in collaboration with you both. And I know a little bit more about Ms. Trustee Chavez, but all right. So tonight we're here to spotlight one of the initiatives that has been in place at Cappuccino for, I want to say, this is our second year prior to my tenure, which is the math pathway. Okay, there we go. So as you know, with the pandemic, the math department was really forward thinking and trying to figure out how to better serve our students at Cappuccino. And they were in discussions and they were looking at a lot of data from years prior to see what can we do differently to disrupt some of these negative trends and also provide more access for our students of color and specifically our Latinx students, it makes up around 50% of the student body at CHS. And as you could see in our traditional pathway, algebra, Latinx, the majority of those students in those classes were proportionally represented. In geometry, our Latinx student population was very underrepresented. And obviously that was a concern because what we've noticed through the data dive is that they were also segregated from middle school. So this would be continued for a number of years through their education and also in our school as well that we wanted to disrupt. So this is a little sensitive, sorry. So disproportionately persisted throughout the advanced classes. And that's one of the things that Dan will talk about a little bit later about how that was a foundational goal that they wanted to disrupt and increase participation in those courses. And then ultimately the goal is to continue to increase both the total and proportional number of students in the meeting A through G, and also making sure that they're completing the IB program, which is part of our academic identity at Cappuccino, since we are an IB school. So last year was the first year of the pathway where we offered math pre-IB 1, where almost all our ninth graders opted into that piece. This year we have pre-IB math 1 and pre-IB math 2, which is for our sophomores. Again, you know, we do anticipate where both are. There you go. There, sorry. Both our 9th and 10th graders are exposed to content from both algebra and geometry. Traditionally, in order to accelerate for IB-SL, you would have to take a summer intensive geometry course, but the thinking around this that our math department wanted to make sure is that in pre-IB math 2, they're prepared to accelerate and opt into more rigorous IB course if they elected to their 11th grade year. Which was right there. Traditionally, they would have to either take the proposed new course pre-IB math for the following year or data science or integrated math 2. But I think with our model, it allows students to accelerate if they want to take that rigorous course, but also complete the 2-year IB Math SL program without relying on the summer geometry, with the efforts of our math department to increase their skills and exposure at the lower levels. Let me forward this real quick. And then some of the work that the math department had to do is to make sure that they are aligning to the IB syllabus. So making sure that the sequence integrates topics like algebra, geometry, trigonometry, statistics, probability, calculus, with the focus of mathematical modeling, and then integrated classes in 9th and 10th grade directly support what students are expected to do in the 11th, 12th grade year, making sure that they have the foundational skills to be successful in the 11th and 12th grade year, depending on what pathway they decided to take. And then as a department, we're developing a strong vertical alignment for both mathematical content and instructional practices. And then the key thing here is making sure that the heterogeneous instruction that's happening in the class. As research indicates, all students learn better, highly functioning heterogeneous classes. A large diversity of opinion and experiences in those classrooms are a benefit. Students learn and value appropriate and learning from each other in often unexpected and surprising ways, which I could attest to when I do my walkthroughs in those classes, and kids are having a good time enjoying and pushing each other's thinking, not pushing the teacher's thinking, but the group work that is happening in that class. And then the mathematical discourse in the classes can be reached at greater depths. And one of the things that I've observed is the reflections after lessons, where students are critically thinking and analyzing what they learned, and also being able to write about it mathematically and reflecting on that as well. And this supports a core aim of our academic identity of being an IB program, to help develop international minded students and empathetic students as well. And then one of the core texts that the math department has been using is this one, designing group work. And for complex instruction, they've anchored some of their work in this text, and another one that who I will introduce now, are Dan Wexel-Green, our department chair, who will walk you through the rest of our slide deck here.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I'm not welcome. Hello, I'm Dan Wexel-Green. So yeah, I'll pick it up from here. Thank you for taking it to this point. So complex instruction is something that we've been working on, trying to get better at for several years. And complex instruction, as the name implies, is quite complex to get good at. So we're definitely still in the learning and growth stages of it, but I think we're starting to see some really good outcomes. So I wanted to go into just a little bit of detail about what some of these instructional practices look like, just some of sort of like the core things that we're centering around. So one of the issues in complex instruction is setting up really productive classroom norms. Complex instruction has its own set of norms, but we've been trying to actually use a little bit more of this idea of rights of the learner, which was developed by sort of a veteran bilingual elementary educator named Olga Torres several years back. And I don't have time to go into the whole history of it, but it's very interesting. And the idea is to reframe norms as expected rights that students should have when they come into the classroom. So, things like, oh, there we go. You have the right to be confused. You have the right to claim a mistake, to speak, listen, be heard, to write, do, and represent what makes sense to you. And so we work with the students to not just tell them these rights, but have them really kind of deconstruct it and see what it looks like. What do these things mean to you? I often ask them to reflect on it, to set an intention for the day, to talk about how it went, and to really start to develop the agency and ownership. Another key practice that we have is multiple abilities launch. So in complex instruction, you're often doing these non-routine tasks that are very complicated. They're not things that students have seen before. One of the things that we really need to do, I think in all subject areas, but especially in math, is really disrupt the there's a lot of existing narratives out there about what counts, what does it mean to be smart? What does it mean to be good? And in math, there's this narrative that being good at math means that you're good at quick calculations, at solving equations and things like that. While that's really only a small aspect of what mathematical ability is. So the multiple abilities launch is to really help students reframe that and see all the different things that goes into solving complex problems, and understanding that everybody is good at some of those things and not everybody's good at all of them. So that's why we work together, we learn together. So we start these kind of group worthy tasks with multiple abilities launch. So we talk about the competencies needed for successful completion and so forth. Okay, so another practice that we use are checkpoint quizzes. And we use the word quiz, that's what they call them. We don't really grade them though. So checkpoint quiz is used to increase group accountability and interdependence. So often we'll ask students, like when they get to a certain point in the problem, to call the teacher over to check in with them. And what we do at that point is we randomly pick one of the students, we have them draw a card or something in the group, and they have to explain the group's thinking and answer questions. And so this really forces them to make sure that everybody in the group is engaged, is understanding. And it's low stakes, but it still puts a little bit of like sort of positive pressure on them. If they can't, we say that's fine. We say, okay, you need to work on your communication. Call me back when you're ready to give us another try, come back. And you really see students like really helping each other understand and learn. Another key aspect is assigning competence. So complex instruction goes deep into the idea of status and understanding that status is sort of this external perception that everybody carries with them. You have academic status, you have social status, and students, especially when students have been together for many years, they really have these like well ingrained perceptions of each other. And there are certain students who are low status, certain students who are high status, and they get locked into these cycles of participation or non-participation. So one of the things that we really need to do is to elevate low status students and really help point out to them, and especially in a public way to the entire class when they're, to show their competencies, to show their smarts, and to really change their perception, because that then can change the students' willingness to participate, students' willingness to listen to each other, and it can really dramatically change the whole thing for the students and for the class as a whole. Okay, so one of the other core texts we've been working with is called Building Thinking Classrooms, which emerged from like a decade of research from this math teacher. And so basically it really combines nicely with complex instruction. So we're doing a lot of our work standing at vertical whiteboards with visibly random groups. So the basic lesson flow for our block days, we generally start with a launch. We start the task with a very brief script because we want to get students working as fast as possible. So we try to keep it to under 5 minutes that just accesses the knowledge that they need to get into the task. We use visibly random grouping, which is one of the core principles also, because in terms of status, we know lots of times, and of course I've done this myself for years, you put students into sort of like ability groups. Like you decide like, okay, these students here are my high students, my medium students, my low students. And right from the very beginning, you're like assigning these sort of like status ideas to students, right? And you're allowing your own biases to sort of like decide who's going to get to work with who. So it's actually really important that it's random and also visibly random, so that students see the randomness happening, so they don't immediately go into a group and like, I'm the smart one, I'm the stupid one, I'm the whatever, right? So it's visibly random, and then they immediately go to their vertical boards to work. There's a much greater level of engagement when they're standing at the whiteboards doing their work. That was part of the research from the book, and we've seen it's pretty amazing what happens. Like they sit down and they're like silent and drooping, and then we send them to the boards and they just like, they perk up, they talk, they work. And then when we sit down again afterwards, they like go back to sleep. So they really like being at boards. So after they do the group work, the teacher helps consolidate the learning using the different work that has emerged. And so I'm not sure where to point this. Students then, after doing all that group work, they sit down to create meaningful notes and work on checking understanding problems, which I can go into in great depth, but I won't do that right now. Just has some images here. So this is what we see. We just see students working at the boards, talking to each other, moving around the room, really trying to create like a lot of knowledge mobility, a lot of willingness to work with anybody. So you can see like teachers here are also moving around. They're seeing what's emerging. They're drawing. We draw students' attention to other students' work. We try to, we have, instead of me explaining it, I'm gonna say, okay, well, I saw in this group over here, they had a great way to explain this. So I'm gonna have you come over here and work with them. So it's all very like fluid and flexible. Okay, so bright spots. Last year, we were fortunate enough to work with a complex instruction coach. So she worked with us throughout the year, and at the end of the year, she did a bunch of empathy interviews with students. And so these themes emerged from that. Because this is just, we're in the second year of our program right now, we don't really have a lot of hard data to support anything at this point. But these bright spots emerged from sort of the interviews that she was doing. Okay, so in general, students felt there was the right amount of challenge in the coursework. They indicated that they valued different students' perspectives, which was something, I mean, when we started the program, we were coming back from virtual. Kids did not want to talk, they did not want to interact. And so we did a lot of work over the year getting them to engage. And at this point, now that we're in year 2, it's really, I mean, there's very little resistance. Kids just go to the boards and they talk with each other, and it's great. They liked the board work, or at least felt that it was useful. They didn't quite like it. They liked the instant feedback of all the check your understanding problems that we gave them. They felt that their teachers were supportive, and they liked not being told the answer, but rather given hints, which is good because we were trying to break that tradition that they've had for many years of just expecting to be shown how to do things. And they expressed hope that the second year would be similar to the first year, which was positive. Okay, and then some of the observations from the teachers. We definitely found that standing at vertical whiteboards, the level of energy was much higher. We've seen students being more willing to tackle novel problems and persevere, showing more resilience. Students have become more comfortable working with any student in the classroom, and their communication skills are growing. We've been doing standards-based grading for a number of years prior. We've been moving more towards performance tasks instead of traditional paper and pencil tests, and all that has really helped students, prevent students from giving up. Okay, there are definitely areas of growth. One of our big challenges is students definitely need to spend more time out of class practicing their math skills, but few are doing so. It's not something we've figured out yet. Students have had a very hard time learning how to write meaningful notes, because instead of having them copying things down from the board, we're asking them to synthesize their learning. And that's a very difficult task. And so we're doing a lot of things to try to figure out how to help them make meaningful notes for themselves. We do retakes, but generally the students who need to retake the assessments the most are the ones that we're chasing after to do the retakes. And so that's been an issue as long as we've been doing standard-based assessment. So it continues, but we're always working at that. And one of our big issues is we're still trying to figure out how to ramp up the speed of student learning so that they can catch up to grade level work. I think this is our fundamental challenge, right? They're coming in well below grade level. And so we're doing everything we can to really ramp that up and get them ready to meet their A through Gs and to be able to succeed in an Ivy level course. So we're still trying to figure out, where do we push hard? Where do we go deep to make sure that they can get what they need to succeed? In terms of next steps, did you want to talk about this part here?
So in terms of next steps, and this is something I've reached out and we've talked to the San Bruno Park School District to kind of continue to build that bridge and partnership with them, because they're our main feeder school, and we want to make sure that we are in constant communication and have a strong relationship. That way we could better support the students transitioning into our comprehensive high schools, especially at Cappuccino. And then also looking at strengthening ninth grade transition supports, looking at what we could do differently and to our ninth graders, because school connectedness is an issue for ninth graders, making sure that they feel a part of a community, that they are represented in the curriculum and represented in the school leadership and stuff like that. So we're brainstorming ways that we could do something different to obviously disrupt some of these negative trends that we see in our school system. So not just specific to Cappuccino, but within education in general. And that's it. And there's some appendix slides on the back end if you have time to look through and go from there. I think we're open for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments? I'll take a turn, but I don't want to go first. Jennifer?
Okay. I would love for you to walk through for me back to the pathways, because I'm coming from Hillsdale, which is a totally different, it's not an IB program. So I'm trying to understand where these math pathways go in terms of grades,
Sure.
grade levels.
Do you want to show the image, or I can just.
I have it in front of me,
Okay, yeah.
but
All right.
No, it'd be good to have it up so we can all see it.
Yeah, we can all see it.
Yep, that's the slide. There we go.
Okay, so prior to this, we had the same basic pathways Hillsdale and the other schools. So right now, we're the only school in the district that has moved to this integrated approach.
Right.
This is much more in line with like what an IB international school would look like. So essentially, the first 2 years right there in orange or whatever, math 1, math 2, that's going to be 9th and 10th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we take the content from algebra 1 and geometry and it's integrated over the course of those 2 years.
And are all students in these classes?
Yeah, so all students, we encourage all freshmen to start at math 1. There are some students who had been accelerated prior who can opt to start in math 2. So we have about 20, I think, freshmen this year who have done that.
I see.
But the intention is to have all students start in math 1.
Okay.
So we can have that true like heterogeneous grouping. So they take math 1, math 2, 9th and 10th grade, and then in 11th grade is where they make their decision point, as if they're going to take math 3, which would meet their A through G requirement like algebra 2 or data science, or if they want to then do the acceleration and move to IBSL. And so then 11th grade and 12th grade is SL1 and SL2. That's the standard level IB program. So that's going to be kind of roughly equivalent to pre-calc and calc at the other schools.
Okay.
And then the last course of the HL apps, higher level in IB is kind of hard to explain. It's sort of like way beyond. It's kind of like SL is kind of like at the calc AB type level, but then HL is like beyond BC. It's like this really big difference. And so there's not a lot of students who can really make it to HL.
Yeah.
And so those students are either ones who would be starting at math 2 or like previously who started at geometry, or if they do other acceleration. But it's really only for the students who are like math STEM centered, like that is their focus.
Okay.
So that's a small cohort. And so the bulk that we're hoping is to have people complete the 2-year SL course.
Okay. And so what we're talking about tonight is this pre-IB math 3.
Right.
Okay.
So because we've been
that doesn't exist yet, but
right,
it's the
because
next step, because you've done 1 and 2.
Right, exactly. We've
Okay.
been rolling them out year by year. So right now is the second year of the program. So we're teaching math 2 for the first time. So next year, those students, instead of algebra 2, would be moving into math 3.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions? Bob?
Try to hold them to a minimum. I know you've got a dozen questions. So
I'm gonna go last.
So, yeah. So there's a couple of things, and and I like the concept. There are some things like we were talking about the whiteboard exercises and this classroom exercises, and then we weren't grading. And I don't know that I subscribe to grading so much as I subscribe to comprehension and mastery and stuff, but still sometimes incentives or recognition or something might help. Did you consider that, or is that actually going on?
Well,
Would that be going on?
are you talking about the whiteboard?
Well, you,
specifically?
in the presentation, you said there was no grading, and I was kind of watching the presentation, I'm listening and I'm taking notes.
Let me clarify. I mean, I would love to exist in a world where we're not doing any grading, but that's not where we are. I mean, that ungrading is the whole movement, but we're still in the traditional like external grading structure. So we do what's called standards-based assessment, which means that when we do an assessment, it's not just like, here's quiz number 7. It's like, this is an assessment about this particular standard, and it's really clear to students why they're doing it. And then they score like a proficiency level on it, and then they can reassess on it as many times as they need to increase proficiency. So we do have to give grades like that. We don't grade the board work and the classwork. One of the things we're definitely trying to do is like remove the number of things that students are graded on, because like one of the points made in grading for equity is that when students realize that every single thing that they do is impacting their grade, it really becomes very transactional, and it really helps remove them from the learning experience. And they feel less comfortable to take risks, because if they know they're going to be graded on like everything, especially while they're still learning, they don't have incentive to take risks. So we don't put grades around the check your understanding questions. We don't put grades on any of the classwork except for these performance tasks. So we reduce the number of things that count as grades to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, and which would lead to the question of sometimes people need all those little points that you used to get for different things to, to keep their level up, but that's not really, that's fine. I appreciate the response. The other thing, which kind of goes to, there wasn't really a discussion, and this will light a fuse on something. There wasn't a discussion of homework per se, and we've discussed homework and the load that we put on people. Is this a class that the whiteboard will pretty much be it, and there's little or no homework contemplated?
Well, okay, I mean, like I said, it's a very long, I don't know how much time we have to talk about it. I can tell you.
It's a short board meeting, go for it.
I can tell you that in my career teaching math, I've tried just about everything to get students who are not interested in math to do homework. And there's nothing that I found that has really shifted the needle. The kids who want to do the homework and do the work do, and the kids who don't. And so it just becomes one more thing that becomes a pain point and punitive. So, but we know that students do need time to work and to practice, and we only have so much time with them in the classroom. So I refer to the check your understanding questions. Essentially, we do the group work. So the idea is to start them in groups where they do that thinking together, but then they have to funnel it down into individual understanding, right? And so after the group work and the consolidation with the teacher, then it goes to sort of like the individualization part where they write their meaningful notes, which is a process of that, and do their check your understanding questions. We don't put a grade on the check your understanding questions, but we do everything we can to encourage them to complete them. And if they don't have time in class to complete them, we ask them to work on them, but we don't grade it. So, and does that mean that certain kids don't do it? Yeah, but when I graded it, a lot of kids didn't do it also. So that's kind of where we are with that. In addition, we've been using a program called MathSpace, where we have been assigning them the homework that we are assigning them is to do an hour's worth of MathSpace a week, where it's basically they can work on any topic. So they can work on topics we're currently doing in class, or they can work on more foundational stuff if they need to, or they can work on advanced stuff. So that way it's completely sort of like individualized, and it's just a chance for them to build some skills, but it's not like directly connected necessarily to the work that we're doing in the classroom if they don't want it to be.
I got two more. I have got more than two. I don't know why. I was, the comment, and you just kind of hit on it again. Note taking is so critical to the success of students and the retention, I think, at least with me, that really, if we could teach everyone how to take effective notes, I'm sure everybody's GPAs and their comprehension would just go. So I mean, I like that concept, because I think that's part of the, well, when I'm reviewing, I can't read my notes because they're in the margins, and and I'm just totally not focused on what's important. The one thing, and this is my last question, and it was on the draft. I had printed out the draft. I'm not sure it made the final, because there was a comment about inserting some social justice components, and it would, and I was just writing notes. What kind of ideas are we talking about there, and where are we going with it?
Well, I mean, so essentially, like when you're looking at disrupting these narratives, there's kind of two approaches, and the complex instruction approach is to really work with like the frames that students bring, right? So changing what's perceived as competent and so forth, and showing that, math is something that we all can do, and all that. The sort of, that's important, but the risk of that, if you just focus on that, is that students can get this sort of like colorblind message, right? Or this idea that like, or if I'm just doing that, there could be all these different issues of like who gets to talk and who gets to participate, and is this math really meaningful for my life? And so if we don't focus on any social justice components, we run the risk of really not helping students see how the math course actually connects with them and their lives and their community. But we're just changing so many things at the same time that even though we wanted to include more of that from the beginning, it was just kind of overwhelming. But essentially what we're looking at is doing right now where we can, we're like, take an activity, and if we can find a way to use real data, if we can find a way to connect it to their experiences, we want to do that. So that's basically what we're talking about, like making sure that the applications and the modeling that we're doing is relevant to their lives, to their experiences, to issues that they care about. But we just need more time to continue to develop those things and figure out where it all fits.
I want to thank you for your presentation. It's actually And I feel like, and I hardly watch America's Got Talent or whoever does, the people sitting up there grading people. But I mean, the presentation, the style, I think it was easy to understand and comprehend. I like the visuals, and it really helped me. So I appreciate that.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone? Terry?
Well, Mr. Griffin, Trustee Griffin, I don't know if you're trying to audition for the show, so you can be one of the judges, but that was really good what you just said. This is a really excellent presentation. And I don't know if goodness is a word. I think it might be. There's so much goodness here. It's really exciting what you're talking about, explaining. I just feel like every student can benefit from this. I'm not sure if my microphone is on. I talk loud in general, so I don't know. I just wanted to say that, well, elevate the low status students, to have a student who always was perceived as, I guess I'll be part of the group over here because I'm not the brightest, or I don't know. I'm going to watch them draw out the answers up there because, and maybe I'll take notes, maybe I won't, because I don't know the answer myself and I don't feel comfortable. But you have your slide here about, you know what, you have the right to be confused. You have the right to claim a mistake. You have the right to ask questions. We all know growing up, people have always told us there's no dumb questions. So folks have heard that. Students have heard that. We've heard that since we were kids, right? But to actually have that in the classroom to say, let's get together. Let's do a random group. We're going to mix it up. I mean, I don't know. I'm older than, well, I'm not older than all the folks here, but I'm older than some. But I remember being picked for kickball. I wasn't picked, like, I was not the first. I was not the top 10. I was not the top 20. I'm like, oh, great. Right. So, but in the classroom, to have a random group where like, you're just going to mix it up, and to have the students feel that and know that that's going to happen. And they're going to collaborate and help each other. I mean, it's incredible. I have a couple of notes down here about the random groups. It looks like this is going to promote a great level of engagement. And that's what we want from each and every student. We want them to feel confident, especially those that actually need to boost up. I mean, everyone needs their confidence level boosted up. Just being a teenager and going through high school is hard enough. But being a teenager going through high school and feeling like I've always been a low performer. I'm not going to excel at anything, to have instructional teachers, just build them up and help. I can't say enough good things about your presentation. I have other notes, but I also wanted to mention about what Bob had said about note taking. I don't know if Cappuccino might still have Avid, because I know that's a class or program that helps with organizational skills related to your classroom, your coursework. Because I know, my daughter's attended Cappuccino, so I know my daughter and her friends were taking Avid and it helped them. But I also wanted to mention the world of IB. Even if you're a student that's not typically like taking the accelerated classes, I know Cappuccino does a wonderful job of ensuring that all students can go into an IB class. And so I just wanted to say that students, whether they talk about it or not, they actually feel like I'm a little bit proud of myself because I'm taking an IB class. I hear my daughter talking with her friends. How many IB classes do you have? Well, I have 2. Well, I think I might have 3 next year. I don't know how I'm going to handle it. Well, then they talk amongst themselves. So I think they really feel proud of I know they feel proud of the IB program, but I'm just talking about how a student that's normally they view themselves as a low performer, making it through an IB class totally boosts their morale. So I just want to mention that. And this is all exciting. I could go on and on, but I don't want to talk longer than Trustee Griffin. And I know Trustee Lan is going to take the floor here. Thanks.
Okay. I will go. So what I really, really like about this is a couple of years ago, I watched the webinar from the California Latino School Board Association, and they talked about exactly this type of stuff about not just grading for equity, but teaching for equity and making sure that students are understanding the concepts coming from like their own understanding, their own cultures, their own experiences, and how they're going to feel in learning this. And Trustee Chavez is right. Like it's important for everyone to feel like they have a place. What I did like about it too is it made me think about when we were kids. I mean, how many times do I wish that we could have had something like this?
Yes.
More people would have graduated from high school. More people would have gone into professions that they would have never thought that they would have been like excelling at, and thinking about, well, I'm not really good at math. So no, like everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses, right? But what I really liked what you said, it was about being interconnected. And it teaches the students that we all have a place and that we all help each other with certain things and that we are all like part of this learning community, you know, and so I really, I'm very pleased and I'm really excited for the students and for the teachers, because to see your students excel, you know, that's a reward for you, you know, and understanding like how to get to them to that point is really lovely. So thank you very much. Mhm.
We're trying.
Okay, I'm gonna take my turn.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can I go back? I know I already asked this question, but I'm still confused. So on this slide, so if they take math 1 freshman year, math 2 sophomore year, math 3 junior year, then senior year is the IBSL apps 1.
Yeah, so basically this changed a little bit from the initial conception. So originally we were going to do a 2-in-1 compacted course that they would take in their junior year. That would be math 3/year 1 of IB.
Okay, that's
But
where I was confused.
And so that was originally part of it, but then we realized a couple of things. First, we thought that we could probably, there's a lot of overlap already, and we thought that we could just have them move directly into the course because a lot of math 3 and year 1 of IB really does overlap. And then what we also started to worry about was now, like, I'm very much against tracking for a lot of these reasons, right? And if we have that course that really does create this like sharp divide right there. And
Right.
so by doing it this way, what we're saying is, okay, for the students, so if you're a 10th grader in math 2 and you're ready to accelerate, your acceleration point is you skip math 3 and you go directly to the first year of IB, knowing that we're going to be covering a lot of the key elements from math 3 as either review or introduce within that course. And so we're basically just
Okay.
eliminating one course and then making sure that we backwards map to math 1 and 2 and really like, we do have to pick and choose, like we're not able to cover all the standard. That's just too much given where our students are starting.
Yeah.
So we really pick and choose and make sure we go deep into like the key mathematical ideas that will get them access to IB. So that's kind of,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you so much. I was just really confused about how do we get past this geometry during the summer thing, because that's what
Right.
my daughter had to do.
So,
And-
and so a student can take, if they don't want to accelerate, they can take math 1, math 2, math 3 as a junior, and then just take 1 year of IB math. And that would be similar to a student ending in pre-calculus at a different school.
Right.
So they could do
okay.
that too. And that would be excellent for a lot of our students to do.
Okay, so you're saying that if they are ready after sophomore year, they can excel,
Mhm.
skip over
Can you
math 3.
click the one next button because it shows that acceleration point? One more. There we go.
I know, and it's there in front of me. I just didn't understand it.
No, I mean, it's
No.
I like to be confused.
There you go. There you go. I love that. No, I put that in because I needed that.
Okay.
All right.
And then just one more thing, like about the homework. So if you're saying that you don't want to give homework and yet they need time outside of class, how does that make sense?
Well, so I've always given homework, and the
Okay.
students who don't do it, no matter what. You know what I mean?
So
Like,
if you give it, there, it doesn't encourage them to do it. Because if my child, if I say, do you have homework? Well, it's optional. They're not going to do it. So, but if it's not optional, then they're going to do it.
well, right, I hear that, and I guess
Okay.
it depends what we mean by optional, because if you have a student who's already opting not to do things that are accounting for their grade, continuing to penalize them doesn't do anything. It just further pushes them back. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
Okay.
like if a student is coming from like a home situation where parents are ensuring that homework is getting done,
Okay.
that's one thing, but that's not always the case. And so we just find that like I said, I always gave homework, and I would grade just for completeness. I would pick a few problems
Sure.
to grade, whatever. But and the other issue now is cheating and copying, especially on homework, is just,
Sure.
I mean, it's everywhere. So by putting points on it like that, for many students, it's not going to encourage them to actually engage or learn. So we're trying to just figure out ways, like that's one of the reasons we like math space, because you can't really cheat. It's like You're just working on it, right? And you could be working on fractions that you never learned, or you could be working on some advanced stuff. And we just want to see that you've done an hour of like legit work, and that's your points. So we are giving them a small number of points for doing that. But how many students are doing it? Less than half of my students are doing it. That's what I'm trying to say. It's worth points. They can do it during flex time. It's on the computer. They can do third grade material if they want. And I still have less than half my students who are doing it. Homework there's just so much that goes into why they're not doing work outside of school. And it's not easily fixed by giving it a grade. I think that's what I'm saying. We need like bigger systemic, we need to understand better why they are not able to.
I hear what you're saying.
And I was going to add my 2 cents on this because I had a comment on this. You're talking about practice, and you even say you put there as an area of growth, you need to have more practice, which is clearly what you want for transference for students to really get it. And you outline that, and it's sort of like, that's the goal, is how do you get them to practice, whether it's within classroom structures. And I'm glad the way you put it. And I think you structured it in the right way. It's like, how do you expand? Because homework is practice, right? You want independent practice at home or independently. And so how do you grow that? And like you said, there's certain individuals that aren't doing that, and you don't want to penalize them for it, but how do you get them to practice so that they get that success?
Right.
So I appreciate how you couched it in the presentation.
I mean, and so I guess for me, my belief is if we can develop their agency and sense of identity and ownership over it, then they will practice. They'll start to realize the benefit or the need to practice. But if I just try to force them into practicing, that's what we've done so far, and it doesn't get us anywhere.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to take a few turns. One, I think this is outstanding, and being an educator and principal and loving this. A lot of the work, it sounds very interesting. Is this work done for all of Cappuccino Math? Is this math structure for all of Cappuccino, or just those in the IB program?
Oh, okay. So I should clarify that. And going back to that comment about IB, we called it pre-IB for a reason. But every single student takes it. They have no other choice.
That answers my question, and I'm really glad that that's the case.
Exactly. And yeah.
And so suspiciously, this sounds like when California first adopted Common Core, that it's the integrated model of math in high school. And I mean, I don't know if it's exactly Common Core, what was integrated 1, integrated 2, and but it sounds very familiar. And it's good that especially taking geometry and algebra combined, because the skills, sometimes one is much better at geometry. I was so much better at geometry than algebra, and I did so much better at sophomore year than I did freshman year. And I was like, wow, I'm good at math. How'd that happen? And so I really love this idea of the integration. And I think you're going to see success. And I think a lot of this work, I really want to commend you for this. It really builds off of Joe Bowler. It builds off Carol Dweck. It builds off that idea of mindset and growth mindset. And it really takes it to an equity level where you're starting to say, okay, how do you break down the structures? How do you disrupt it? And that's what, a lot of the research, Joe Bowler's research is all about on my context of, I'm smart, I'm not smart, and that idea. And just, I love the whiteboard practice, the group practice, the integrated, the fluidity. I think you're really, the more that gets developed and they get ownership over that, I think you're going to start to see that idea of, okay, I can practice. I can do that, because I think the idea is, how do you get that transference? Because in a group setting, they're starting to feel that success. And how do you start getting it into that independent practice success? I don't know what the answer is, but that's going to be your holy grail right there. The assigning competency, I mean, I think a lot of the trustees already mentioned it, but I think it's really what's going to change things. It's that idea of just the randomness. We're not assigning smart, not so smart, needs help, group in that way. So I love the group work. I like the fluidity of it. I think that's just amazing. Checking for understanding. I think one of the things that when I was listening to this informal assessment, catching them and figuring out who's got it, who doesn't, what mastery looks like during this check for understanding to figure out where to go from there. I think that's going to be something key that you're going to develop over time. I'm not sure, but as an educator, I feel like that was the thing that I caught. And I really appreciate how frank you guys were with the areas of growth. I mean, how do you get the independent practice going? It's a hard time to write meaningful notes. It's hard to really have them. The writing is just as important. And how do you get writing? And, because you're trying to tackle the mathematics of it,
Mhm.
and yet
Mm.
mathematics and everything's integrated, and then they're struggling with reading and writing, and still, how do you make it all work and fit together?
Mhm.
That's the age-old problem. But I really think that this research and the way you're implementing their research is really taking it to the next level. And I'm just very impressed. I'm so glad that Cappuccino's doing this. So thank you for sharing. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Oh, go ahead.
Something that you said, trustee Land, made me think about the success, because if you're working in a group, which you guys have clearly demonstrated they're doing so well. And you feel success, you feel a sort of success in your group, either you solve the problem or you solved half of it, and then you're working collaboratively to figure out how do you do the other part. If an individual who normally they just don't feel like they're good at math, they don't feel successful. If they feel successful in their group and they participate a little bit and they actually feel like, you know what, we all got the boat rowing together, right? I'm not a good rower. Never tried, but if they feel like they're successful in the group, even whether they participate a little bit or a lot, and they feel that successfulness, I think that will help them feel successful as an individual.
Mm.
And then maybe they'll go home, whether they do the homework at home or, to your point, flex time. So that's great that they have that flex time. They can actually do the homework there on campus and be encouraged to drop by and see someone who can help them with the problem if they can't, if they're stuck on a portion. I think that'll go really far. So thank you for talking about that.
Yeah, lastly, it'll also strengthen our school communities. For them to be in these groups with people that they maybe won't hang out with, everyone has their, their groups or whatever, they're gonna see each other, out in the community and say, hey, what's up? We were in the same group together, where they're gonna be friends or they're gonna know each other. But it does definitely expand those networks. Mhm.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't mention is like, one of the things we're trying is in one of the Math 2 classes this year, we're doing a co-taught, I'm doing a co-taught with another teacher where we're doing push-in with EL students. And so in that class, we have EL students, we have autistic students, specialized students, and we're all working together. And just seeing like the way the kids are developing and their ability to be kind and gentle with each other and to be inclusive, it's really impressive. Some of the kids, having them, I've had some of them in 9th grade and having them again in 10th grade, and just watching the way that they're like, oh, can I work with you on that? Do you want me to go over that with you? The way they're so kind and gentle with each other is something that it didn't start. You know what I mean? Like, I think, a lot of it was coming back from virtual and everything, but yeah, just seeing that growth over the 2 years so far has been really like meaningful, and it helps me feel like we're on the right track. Like,
Yeah.
maybe we don't have the data yet, but like when I see the students working like that with each other, it's really impressive.
And the communication skill level.
Mhm.
Today there was a webinar on Afghani students and learning and all of that. And it was really interesting, the parallels between the students from like Guatemala and from Latin America that were immigrating here and the students from Afghanistan, and like the similarities in the communication of what they were like, where they thrived and what was important to them. And it was just really interesting that once all of that was communicated and people were able to respect that, then the learning started.
Mhm.
So that's really important. Thank you.
Just, okay. No, I was gonna close out, so I was gonna let's move on.
Sorry, just one more quick question, and you probably don't have an answer for me yet, but so you're in year 2 now. And do you have any sense yet of have these numbers from that very first slide of the Latinx group? Do you have any sense yet of, are we closing that gap? Are more Latinx students going to be moving into the IBSL apps 1 with this foundation?
Well,
Do you have a sense
that's the hope. I think
Yeah.
so just to clarify though, those numbers on that original graph,
I know they're from years ago.
no, but what it was
Yeah.
talking about specifically was students, that geometry was for 9th graders. So we were looking at like,
Okay,
that was
yeah.
about
Entry
the entry point. And
Yes.
so
I
what we're trying to do is to make it so it's like, if everybody has the same entry point, that's our way of trying to start, like, to disrupt that. And so we
Okay,
do have, like I said, about 20 families who had their students start at Math 2. So there's still a little bit of differential, but I think it's, in the past, we had maybe like up to 60 freshmen starting in geometry. So we're all, we're taking steps
right. So, but I guess what I'm saying is, do you have a sense yet, and maybe you won't know until they're picking classes for next year, but that's coming up soon. Do you
Yeah.
have a sense, are more kids going to opt for the higher level?
We don't have a sense, and as
Okay.
we start spring programming for the following year, we'll kind of get a rough idea of
Yeah, I'd
of
just be
numbers of
interested,
if
because
that's
it's
gonna
nice
be
to
enough.
talk about these spotlights and what people are feeling, but
Mhm.
we need to see some numbers.
Yeah, no,
too.
the data is the area that we're gonna have to look into to see if that's really making the change that we really are intending to make, and hopefully that it is, and we could kind of continue to build and grow.
Yeah, I hope so.
And I think there's a couple things, because there's completion of the entire IB program,
Mhm.
but there's also just the number of students meeting their A through G and
Mhm.
increasing that. And then so I mean, so
Sure,
even if we
yeah.
have more students making their A through G,
That's
even if they don't take
positive.
IB, that's big too. So I think
Yeah, that is
it's going
big.
to take us a couple of years, because first we'll see next year how many students take math 3, how many jump into IB 1, and then the
Mhm.
following year, how many. So it'll take a couple of years before we see
Yeah.
that, but that is the hope.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wonder if CASP testing would have any, reflection of what's happening and what changed, because I don't know how it works, but CASP testing, is it just math, or is it math specific to the
It's-
subject?
Well, we wouldn't see those results until next
Next year.
year, or even the
Junior.
year after that, because it would be when they have the math 3 course.
Yeah, so it's
they-
the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Got it.
we-
But it is
yeah,
just math. It's
11th
like
grade
it's
year.
It's just
11th
pure
grade.
math.
Right, so then that
Yeah.
might be some data points that you can
Yeah.
see, like,
Definitely.
hey, what Jennifer's talking about is like, oh, look,
Mhm.
we had here, now that you've gone through 1, 2, 3, look at the change and look at the shifts, and let's see if that disruption takes place.
But there's also evidence in other places, so maybe not with just our kids, but it has been done before, right, with other places.
Has
And so
it?
you've seen,
Has
have you
this?
seen
complex
evidence
instruction.
from other places that this has been successful?
So I think it's been hard to find hard evidence of that. I mean, it's something that San Francisco has done for a while, and they've have data to support it. But I know some of the data has also been questioned, so that's a little bit murky right now. I think the districts who are doing this have just been doing this these last few years.
Right.
So, but yeah, so I personally don't know of like, here's this district that has years of doing this and this data. I don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I do want to say that, it really is, I think you found that right balance of, because when the pathways are pathways and you're not restricting and you're not limiting, I really feel like there's potential here and there's real potential for growth. And when you have these heterogeneous groups that you've created and keep doing that, I think we're going to see some real work in the next few years. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
President Lamb, we have some public comment on
Oh,
Zoom.
okay. So we're going to turn to public comment online.
Is that for us or
Do we have?
Yeah, I think it's going to be for you guys.
Okay.
So hold on.
Yes, we have Miss Jennifer Blanco. I'll be promoting you now.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, Trustee Land. ¿Cómo estás? Happy New
Bien,
Year,
bien.
everyone. Hello, Principal Gomez and Mr. Wexel Green.
Hello.
We meet again. So thank you for the presentation, Principal Gomez and Mr. Wexel Green. I know in the past, Mr. Wexel Green and I have had numerous conversations regarding the concerns that we both share with our students coming in from Parkside. Unfortunately, the concerns that we've had are still there. We have yet to, I don't like using the word closing the achievement gaps. I honestly don't feel it's attainable at the current moment. However, supporting our students, I think I would just keep it on that. So, Mr. Wex, we're going to start by telling you also, I truly appreciate your energy. It's such a positive energy. I feel it here. But at the same time, I also do feel your frustration with our kids not doing their homework, because practice makes perfect, in my opinion. And I know that with the students, with the cultural diversity that we do have here in San Bruno, especially with our kids coming into CAP, I know that strengthening the homeschool partnership has always been a challenge as well. And my concern is with the constant change of leadership here with our superintendent and also the leadership as the principalship at Parkside. The disconnect between the Parkside and CAP, we need to strengthen that. And I know that with each superintendent that comes back, Oh, I'm so I so apologize. I'm a trustee for the San Bruno Park School District, everyone. And every time we do have a constant, a new leader, I'm always, okay, we need to reconnect with CAP. We need to bring back our articulation committee and start from scratch all over again. So I totally appreciate all that you're doing for our kids that come from our school district. And I just hope for the best for our kids. And so I just wanted to see if you all might be able to talk a little bit about, with the new leadership coming in from the superintendent and the principal at Parkside, have we reconvened the articulation committee? And if so, how is that going? Because I think that's the only way we're going to be able to find success for our kids. And thank you so much for the time to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I did notice that in our next steps, that was brought up a little bit. So if you want to expand maybe a little bit on that, that would be awesome.
So I could just give you a brief update on I met with Superintendent Duffy early on and established a time to go over visit Parkside. That time in the fall didn't work out due to their staffing shortages, and I didn't want to disrupt other people from taking me on a tour and getting to know that. We did have a meeting with the Parkside team, administration team, and counseling, and I believe their wellness counselor recently regarding articulation and starting those conversations about the 8th grade class transitioning into 9th grade, and kind of seeing if we're going to do Unity Week as we did last summer, if that's still going to be an option, and exploring other activities in the summer and opportunities for other students to get engaged and start that transition in process and onboarding process during the summer. But we're still in the works with that.
Thank you. I mean, one of the things, like it says in the here, it does say to make sure that curriculum and instruction practices are aligned as possible. I think really trying to share with them your research, what we're trying to do, that I would love to see that try to articulate across at some point in time with PD or inviting them to something that you guys do.
And that's a partnership with the districts, right? And not just the site alone, but we will bridge that gap, and both districts will be encouraging that. And I look forward to
now,
because it is an opportunity, and it's something that we'll work together to make happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sorry. Principal Gomez, you're absolutely right. It would be district-wide, but I was wondering if it would be also beneficial to have that bridge for the feeder school districts. As you said, most of the students from Parkside feed into Cappuccino, and likewise for other feeder schools, other feeder middle schools we have feeding into our various high schools.
Yep.
So you can, of course, it would be district-wide, but then we would have those natural collaborations.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and just like, I mean, when you think about it as a middle school principal, if you don't coordinate with the high school, what your pathways are, crash, burn, when it doesn't match with the high school, then you have pathways that, kids are either repeating or they can't get what they need. And there's a problem. So, I mean, obviously, yeah, Dr. Kempke, that would be great to have us connect with San Bruno Park and see what we can do and help share this wonderful research that you guys are doing. So,
and we have experts that have a wealth of knowledge that can support their staff as well. So
anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Excellent. Okay, moving right along, we are going into the now, which I skipped before. I mean, I skipped this presentation, but Division of Instructional Services, approval of the pre-IB Math 3 pilot program proposal.
So this is essentially approving next year's path. So you saw it on the last presentation. So we're seeking approval for that.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move to approve.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Andrade, seconded by Trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing no.
Oh, we have someone online.
Actually, yeah, I don't know
Is
if
it
we,
after the fact?
yeah. We kind of
So when did
missed
that
it,
come in?
but hold on, somebody was been promoted. We'll give them a minute or two before, because I didn't complete the vote. So I'm going to hold off on the vote. We'll have to vote again, but we have a motion in a second. I'm going to allow for Andrew. I believe you're on there. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
You have
Yeah,
3
I raised my
minutes.
hand earlier. I don't know what happened, so I apologize for not being, I guess, proactive enough to get in before the vote started. So again, thank you for taking some time to hear my comments. I appreciate it. I wanted to thank the San Bruno district or teachers for presenting the IB programs they're working on. I have to admit, like, the whole IB program is totally new to me, and I'm really curious as to how they actually structure all of their math curriculum. So it was really interesting. I'm going to go do some work on that. I do want to say that I have a couple of concerns with the way that it was laid out. But I think Trustee Jacobson got to the meat of the matter towards the end, where she was asking for, how do we know if this is successful? As I think the presenter said, this kind of program, this structure of program has been in place in San Francisco for a number of years now. I can't remember if it's like 7 or 8 years at this point, but it's been in place for a good number of years. And as he hinted at, the results there have been rather mixed. It's really difficult to evaluate because there's such a flight of students from the San Francisco district. And so it's really hard to create an apples to apples comparison to those students. But the metrics for the math performance over there weren't changed in any dramatic way, either up or down, after everything was said and done. It looked like the same trend across the board. And the biggest concern I have with this kind of a program is that it's trying to achieve equity in a world where people are not coming in at an equitable position. And so you end up with this very strange dynamic where students who might be prepared for one level of mathematics are being placed in a different level of mathematics. That's particularly troubling because by law in California, students have to be placed according to ability, not according to the curriculum mandates that are there. So I was glad to hear that they are allowing students who have the ability to be placed appropriately. But I think the teacher really got to the heart of the problem. And I think that Mr. Land also spoke to this, like, math is about practice. Math is about participation. Math is about doing. It's not about grades. It's not about anything like that. But if you have people who just aren't interested in doing, there's not going to be any way to achieve an equitable outcome in the end. There has to be more work done to, I don't want to say force students to do math, but if you want them to get better at math, there has to be strong incentives for them to actually do math in the end. And unfortunately, a lot of that has to start in the K-8 program. You're in a poor position right now to solve those problems the way things are currently. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any comments? I'm going to just take one turn because unfortunately our speakers left, and I think they'd like to talk to this. I think one of the things I think some of the board members were mentioning about this was the idea of success, that if students who may have been behind in K-8 and are still behind and coming to this level in high school, this gives them the opportunity to be successful. And through that group work, might be able to catch up faster and accelerate, which is, I think, answers at least one of the questions. But I think, Jennifer, you also asked a question about articulation and how does it go from, one class to the other, and how do you accelerate? And I think there's a balance to that. I don't think this is perfect, but I think, as it says, this is a pilot, and I think it's something that we should try to do. So with that, if anybody else has a statement, no, yes. Okay, I'm going to go back to what we had. I'm going to call the question. We had a motion by Lehia, a second by Terry, and we were about to vote. So let's just go back to that. So again, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Any abstentions? None. Okay, so 5-0 vote. Thank you. All right, moving on. We are now going to summer construction update. Yancey, I believe that's you. And
all right, thank you,
and Jose.
President Land. Tonight we have Jose Quintana, who heads up our Measure L facilities team, as well as Todd Lee, who you all know from many years at Greystone West. And so Mr. Quintana is going to give us an overall Measure L update with a real focus on the work that we got completed this summer. So with that, I will turn it over to Jose.
Good evening, President Land and esteemed Board of Trustees, Superintendent Booker, and cabinet members. Thank you for the opportunity tonight to present the district's bond Measure L construction update tonight. I'd like to focus really on the work performed over the summer of 2022, and a look ahead of upcoming projects.
I think tech is not our friend today. No, I think technology in general today has been a little challenging. I think when they swept it this way and that way, it did work. Next slide.
Next slide. There you
If
go.
they can advance it, that'd be great.
Great.
Oops. That won't do it.
Okay, we'll go into the next slide.
Yeah. Oop. Nope. Wait. All right. Nope. So what are we going to see in these slides?
Completed projects and construction, projects starting construction in the summer of 2023, projects and design, and finally a financial summary is what we're going to go through.
I'm excited to look forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go on with the presentation.
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, great. Well, some of the completed projects on this bond measure are the district-wide security cameras. Next slide, please. The Hillsdale High School domestic water line replacement, Cappuccino High School and Mills High School stadium turf replacement for the football fields, and San Mateo High School music building HVAC replacement, as well as the Mills High School ceramics HVAC replacement. Next slide is the Cappuccino and Mills High School turf replacements for these stadiums. And these stadium fields, I will say that they have made a big difference to the athletic departments and has really brought them up to the same level the rest of our fields. Next slide. Mills High School and San Mateo High School HVAC projects. COVID really showed us that we needed some high quality HVAC for our sites. And so we were very fortunate to have done so. Next slide, please. The following projects are in construction or near completion of construction. Cappuccino and Mills High School sports complex projects have been marquee projects, and we're really proud of them. And we are slated for ribbon cutting here mid-March for the Mills High School sports complex. We have 3 transite projects that started the summer of 2022, Aragon, Hillsdale, and Mills High School. And these projects were very important to our Citizens Oversight Committee. It's just the project and what it entailed. And so we are fortunate to have started those projects. They're slated for completion for the summer of 2023. And the following 3 projects there are currently going through their punch list items. That's Burlingame High School, Building A HVAC and roof replacement, as well as the district-wide PA replacement and the district-wide path of travel lighting upgrades. Next slide, please. This is an image of our Cappuccino High School sports complex of our mixed use field and tennis courts. Beautiful campus there, and we've got so many people ready for our facilities use that want to rent this site. So we're proud of that. Next slide. The next is a Cappuccino High School sports complex, a view of our softball fields as well as our pool that have new upgraded Musco lighting. And this is the northwest view. Next slide. Here's an image of our Mills High School sports complex with final touches that we are on target for a mid-March ribbon cutting ceremony. Next slide. This is the Mills High School sports complex. And I want to point out here the unique features of our sports complexes that have outdoor learning environments and opportunities throughout the campuses or throughout the complex that really would provide a student achievement and instruction. Next slide. is our Aragon Transite Encapsulation Project. These are much needed facelift for all of our sites, and all 3 sites are slated for completion for the summer of 2023. Next slide is our Hillsdale Transite Encapsulation. And, you know, each school really captures and embraces its own culture and community design, which is a real value add to our sites. Next slide, please. Mills Transite Encapsulation. These bold colors really do promote school spirit and a positive climate that really feels safe and, you know, welcoming, respectful for a student learning environment. Next slide. Project starting construction of summer 2023. Aragon High School is a new lit baseball and flex field, as well as the swimming pool, competition, lighting, and replaster. Burlingame High School has a new gymnasium complex, and Hillsdale High School has a swimming pool, competition, lighting, and replaster, as well as cafeteria, acoustic, and audiovisual improvements. And San Mateo High School gets the lion's share here with a new small gym and a boiler chiller replacement and new tennis courts, baseball improvements, swimming pool competition and lighting, and finally, our district-wide fire alarm replacement project. Next slide. These are slides that have been board approved, schematic design from our May and June of 2022. This in particular slide here is our San Mateo High School new auxiliary gym. It's a view from the northwest corner or the main entrance. Next slide. This is a view from the back or viewed from within the campus, the northeast corner of the site. Next slide, please. This is Burlingame High School, the new gym replacement project. It will be right on the footprint of the existing gym. And this is the view from the very front of the school as you view to the left or the south orientation. Next slide, please. This is a view from the west or view from the stadium field. As you notice, the background of existing buildings and new building incorporate the existing color palettes. So it really integrates these color schemes. Next slide, please. This is Burlingame, just a look into the lobby, that wow factor, fresh, clean look of the interior for signage, of the signage to promote school spirit. Next slide. Projects and design, Burlingame High School music room modernization, district-wide solar project, and our district-wide HVAC controls project. Next slide. This is a comprehensive examination of our financial summary. You can see that ultimately over half of the bond measure is in design, in construction, or completed. And so overall, we have some projects that are under budget or over budget. But as a whole, we're within 1% of our initial budgets. I do want to stress that or say that we have received more than $2 million in interest on this bond measure alone. And finally, next slide. Any questions?
The only thing I noticed was in the last slide, are we 1.82 million over is what I saw. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. That's from the initial budgets back in 2020. Overall, from the overall project, I would like to note that the 2 additional projects at the bottom, the district-wide HVAC controls project and district-wide solar projects which were not in the initial listing of projects, which is about $16 million. And we were able to add those projects actually because of being under budget on the rest of the projects. But yeah, there is an additional.
It's good to know.
1.92 million. As Mr. Quintana noted, we've had over $2 million in interest on the earnings, which is great. So overall, we still have all of our full contingencies on all the projects, as well as those 2 additional projects. So overall, given the inflationary environment, we are incredibly happy with where we are in the bond program. Now, we'll wait till we get bids on the summer projects before I put that in stone. So.
Right. Good point. Any comments? All right. This was just informational, right?
This is just informational only, just to give an update on what's going on and why we're seeing all the construction trucks out there and what great things.
It's great to see all the work that's been done. I mean, we have to say it's been incredible and loving what's happening, and we're really on the forefront. We're doing a great job. So thank you both.
the whole committee and Mr. Quintana, I mean, everybody does such a great job and asks great questions and yeah, I think this is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Board of Trustees.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to the approval to award contract for San Mateo High School tennis courts replacement and baseball relocation project to go to Guerra Construction.
Yeah, I believe that Todd Lee from Greystone West is going to be. Yeah.
Promoted.
And I'll apologize. I don't know if I
prepped.
Let Miss Aquino know that Todd Lee would be jumping on. So that is my bad.
All right.
So usually we have a project like this of this size on consent, but we did want to note a couple of things on this one as we move forward because we're going to be watching this project. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Lee in order to just give a quick update on this project.
All right, Mr. Lee.
So we opened bids last week. We are about 225,000 over the approved budget on the project. It's primarily attributed to a couple areas. The most prominent one being the soils toxicity survey came back with elevated levels of pesticides and herbicides, which we weren't really expecting. It's never really been an issue at San Mateo High School, so we didn't really budget for that off-haul. But I think it's probably primarily due to the location adjacent to the baseball fields where they were probably using weed killers. So the current bid contains approximately 200,000 for disposal of the soil as hazardous waste. We won't know for certain whether that's going to be true. Our testing, some areas came up hot, some did not. But once we stockpile the soil, we'll test it to see where it is. So we're going to work to value engineer and hopefully that number comes back down. We also had some scope creep in electrical that we're going to take a look at. So my plan is to try and get that number back closer to the board approved budget. And that's the reason that we're not asking for a budget increase at this time. But we did get healthy competition. Sub coverage was heavy. And I don't think putting it back out on the street would yield a different result. So we're asking tonight you to award to Guerra Construction in the amount of 2,944,770.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. You're moving to, okay, so the motion to approve Guerra Construction, is there a second?
Second.
Second from trustee Jacobson. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. And any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. All right. Moving right along in the agenda, we are now at Division of Human Services. Now, help me out here because my copy here says consent agenda, but then I go on the agenda online and it just is personnel actions. So if you want to help me separate or tell me how to do this, we can do it.
So we have a new breakdown of the human resources items, some that are consent because usually there's not much comment or questions on them. And so we divided up the 5 items, 3 in the consent and 2 that we need to read out. The 3 that are in consent are the personal actions you received last week or that were posted last week, a memorandum of understanding with the Teachers Association for yearbook advisors at the smaller schools like Bridge and Peninsula Middle College, and then an update of the CSEA salary schedule that has the job that we approved at the last board meeting, the communication specialist, multilingual communication specialist.
Okay, so can I have a motion and a second for the consent?
I move.
Okay, moved by trustee Zuniga and a second.
I second.
Second by trustee Jacobson. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Abstentions? Motion's carried. Okay, thank you. And then the next one is the action items.
Yeah, and the first one's the personnel actions addendum that
Addendum.
for items that came out after last week or got finished before I mean, not in time for last week's personnel actions. And there's two recognitions that I'd like to share if possible. One is teacher Tilio Teresi is retiring after 31 years in the district as music teacher, band director, many other things over 31 years. He's retiring effective June 1st, 2023. And we also have Dana Nostroza, after 10 years, 5 months, is retiring on January 17th as an instructional assistant at Mills High School.
Thank you very much for those honors. Is there a motion for
move
the
to
addendum?
approve.
Motion for trustee Zuniga, and there's our second.
I'll second.
Okay, second by trustee Chavez. Okay, with a motion and a second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Okay, next item is,
The next one is the administrator contracts that we need to read out the terms, the compensation
Yeah.
terms. There's two. One is from Jesse Boyes, who was here last board meeting, introduced himself, and then from today, Monica Nagy, who was at the beginning of the board.
all right, I've got it in front of me.
Okay.
The following are compensation terms for Jesse Boyes, Hillsdale Assistant Principal, for the remainder of the 2022-23 school year. Salary $97,980. Work days 105.5. Prorated health and welfare benefits up to $25,343. Transportation and cell reimbursements of $275 a month, and various subscriptions and membership and reimbursements approved for district expenses. The next one, the following compensation terms for Monica Nagy, Cappuccino Interim Assistant Principal, for the remainder of the 2022-23 school year. Salary $79,308.97. Work days 101.5. Prorated health and welfare benefits up to $25,343. Transportation and cell reimbursements of $275 a month, and various subscriptions, memberships, reimbursements for approved district expenses. Do I have a motion to pass?
So moved.
Okay, moved by trustee Griffin, seconded by trustee Zuniga. There you go. Well, you wanted it, you get the second.
Sure.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Here, no. Any abstentions? Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. All right. Let me get back to my agenda. Okay. Nothing under Division of Student Services, nothing under Business Services, Board Operations. Okay. So Board of Trustees, City Committee, and School Assignments. So I don't know. Let's get down to that. So you have an attachment that was sent to you. Shar had presented to you. As president, one of the obligations of the president is usually they're the ones who organize this. I want to give you a little bit. This is merely a suggestion. And let me tell you why. So does everybody have this? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you past practice. So past practice was each year the president usually in December would assign, as the new board's members came in, everybody would get assigned for a year. And in that year, you would have a city assignment, school assignments, and various committee assignments. And what happens usually is everybody rotates around, and part of this rotation is graduation ceremonies. You would be one of the ones to go to the graduation ceremonies and do either participate in the graduation speeches or graduation ceremony or whatever. Each one's different, so you have to kind of figure out what the principal or vice principals do that coordinate with that. Then connected with that is the cities. You're also responsible for any 2x2 meetings or any meetings that have you're liaising with those cities and communicating with the cities. Things that could come up, like we had when I was in Burlingame and I was representing Burlingame, we worked on the pool, the aquatic center, because we own partial and we had to negotiate through that. In San Bruno, Linda Lee's had to work in San Bruno with the one-on-one to talk about Crestmore and deal with that. So that's usually what happens in the schools when you're connected with the cities and liaising with the city councils. And the committees are, and we have a new one, Equity Advisory, but there's usually the Property Committee, the Budget Advisory Committee, the Citizens Oversight Committee, which you heard was what brought up in one of the last presentations about the Transite, and what they thought was important and how we've come to the bond and add part of that. So those are the committees, those are the cities, those are the schools. And this was just kind of merely a representation of kind of going into the rotation and starting somewhere. I did take into account where we've been because we've had rotations. So I wanted to account for what I hadn't been doing and what he hasn't been doing and what Lee has shifting to something new. So that has to play a part in our selections. Jennifer, if you want to speak your mind, might be a good time to say, hey, you had some questions about, we had at the beginning.
I just wanted to understand what the duties are, how it was decided, does it get rotated?
Yep.
And I think you answered that.
Yeah, and I want to put that on the record. So when we
Okay,
talked, I want to make sure that you know that now that we're in trustee areas, one of the main things that the former board came before us talked about was not balkanizing us as representatives of only our trustee area. We represent the school district. And as such, we need to rotate into all of the schools and all of the cities. So on purpose, you didn't get San Bruno and you didn't get San Mateo, because based on what we did and what is going to happen, you're eventually like next year where you might get San Bruno and you might get San Mateo and we might rotate around, so that we're thinking about it in a holistic sense. So again, I'm not tied to this. This is merely suggestions and we can make it, add on to it. Now, if anybody has any desires to change, let's take that into account. We can make any changes. There's also secondary schools as well. You'll notice that there's DTech, there's Middle College, there's the adult school, there's Peninsula. These are also, we do want to be responsible for connecting with those schools as well. And that's an important part of what we do as well, is not just the comprehensive schools, but also our continuation schools and our supplementary and unique programs that we have.
And that's not to say that we can't overlap, right?
Oh, no. We are the official representatives. So when it comes to graduation, we're going there and we're the official ones, but that doesn't mean we can't go to these schools and be part of it. And it's merely, this is your role this year. So if you're doing something, this is your bare minimum you got to do and work with.
Because even when I had last year, I had San Mateo and Trustee Dwyer also came to the graduation, and so and then with the citizens oversight, Trustee Griffin and I both went to the meetings. And so it's not to say that it's only you can go.
No, it's just you are the official representative at that time.
No,
absolutely. And Burlingame, haven't you heard Linda? She goes to everything. So does Bob. Well, no, Bob and Peter does. I do. Yeah, you do. Anyway, so I'm opening this up to any comments, thoughts. Sure.
Just in case. So I have a couple questions. And I do have a kind of a joking comment that I live the furthest north, and you assigned me the furthest south city. So I do have the longest distance. So I will take that cup of coffee you offered me.
Yep, you got it. You got it.
So
I wasn't hazing you, I swear.
I think that it's great to mix it up, because I'm a firm believer that our city councils up and down the state of California, as well as our school districts up and down our great state of California, went to district elections for a lot of our cities and our districts, school districts. And some folks don't understand that we represent we understand that, but some folks don't understand that we represent our entire student body, our entire boundary of our district. And so I think it's great that you're bringing that up. I had my couple of questions are, am I allowed 2 or 3?
You can ask whatever you want.
Just kidding. At the top, it says January to June. So I was wondering, is this January to December, or it'd be annually? Because I don't know if you want to change every 6 months.
So actually, I'm going to bring that up because again, we are shifting policy. I mean, Superintendent Booker might want to talk about this, but we're making this change so that it's a little bit more logical to stay within the school year. So we're going to do, this is what it's going to look like.
Right.
Since we're having new board members and we're going to have to do a 6-month one.
Right.
In June, we're going to reassign again and rotate. So in June, after the graduations, we'll reassign before summer, and you'll have a new group for August, and then it'll be a school year, because it makes more sense to do school years versus December to December.
Right.
It's just kind of awkward.
No.
So I think it's kind of, we're trying to evolve and stay traditional. So it's kind of, we're trying to do a little bit.
Good. That's great.
Okay.
And then my other question is, I'm currently on the Equity Advisory Committee, so even though I'm not assigned to that, I guess I can
Yeah,
still
you
feel
can
free to
still go.
drop
Yeah.
in and participate.
It can only be
Well,
like a
yeah.
maximum
I
of 2
think,
or
so
3.
that's
as
the
long as
other
we-
thing I was gonna
yeah.
ask is the
Yeah.
other thing that I forgot to say that I talked with Superintendent Booker about is each of these committees, there can be 2 board members
Right.
on each
Right.
one. If these are your assigned ones, you still can choose one more. So
Right.
if you would like to be on another one,
Mhm.
let's talk about it in the notes now and we
Sure.
can get it and document that that's what
I
you'd
see.
like to be joining. So if you want to join more than one, go for it. Some of us might just say, yeah, that's great, go for it. And I'll just stick with my one. But we can all be a part in more than one. So if you guys have any suggestions that you'd like to be on the budget advisory, or you'd
Mhm.
like to be on the equity advisory or the property committee, well, I have 2 for the property committee. But we can make some altercations if somebody really wants to be a part of that. If one of you guys would be willing to switch that up, but that's where I'm at.
And I had one more comment to make.
Sure.
So I think it's great because I mean, I think it's, at first I felt like, oh, I don't have cappuccino. Well, that's okay. That's okay, because I know that they're in good hands with Lakia, but like you said, it's gonna be rotating, but
It's gonna be rotating.
I absolutely want to go to every school and get to know faculty, students, so I think it's great to mix it up. I do have a funny story to tell you. When I was on the San Bruno Park School District for 4 years, when it was a non-COVID year, one of my favorite days was as the students came off the stage, the Board of Trustees, whoever was available that day, all of us came for a couple of times as well. Had the opportunity to shake everyone's hand. Then we went to COVID and it was
Verboten.
my daughter was an 8th grader. She said, I hope you don't do that next year when I transition out of 8th grade. So when I'm for the 8th grade promotion, when I'm coming off the stage, because you know how teenagers are these days. Well, then the whole world sort of shut down because of COVID. Not shut down, but we didn't have the in-person graduations. So we had the drive-by graduation. So now that I'm very honored to be up here with my colleagues, but my daughter is also wondering because she saw Trustee Dwyer give the speech last year when my older daughter graduated from Cappuccino. So I think as long as we know that I probably shouldn't be assigned Cappuccino in June 2024, we'll make sure that doesn't happen. Otherwise.
Well, that's up to you. I mean,
No,
that's,
I know,
I
I know.
think that's.
No, I'm
I
saying
was
that
gonna
that I
say,
shouldn't be. I'd rather somebody here give that speech so that'll make my daughter happy if I'm not on stage, but I'm in the audience with her.
Well, I did the
Well, no,
opposite.
she'll be
I did the opposite.
did-
When my daughter graduated from Burlingame, I was in Burlingame and I gave the speech and totally
Okay.
embarrassed her. So I totally embarrassed her. I think you should. I think you have
That's- we
every
have a-
right.
To think about.
I
this,
think
but
you have
it's- I
every
know.
right to do it.
Yes.
So, I mean,
Do we
that's where. it's
really
kind of
have
up
to
for me.
give a speech?
Huh?
Do we really have to give a speech?
Linda sent us a couple of. examples.
It's an honor. to
It's an
give us-
honor, but you can bow out. Right there. I have been times when
We get a speech
it's
right.
only
in the
1,000 people.
budget.
It's only a few thousand people. It's like 3,000-4,000. It's okay.
It's to
okay.
Trustee Jacobs, don't worry.
I was scared to death, to be very honest with you. And I did it and it's doable, but you can be short, you can be long. It's just, you work with the people, you know, the principal and the vice principal.
And if you're
Yeah.
nervous, like we can help you, really, like,
Yeah.
you're not alone, girl.
No, yeah, serious.
Jen, that's why Trustee Dwyer sent us those examples.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
which I'm grateful for.
So
Oh.
anyway, any other questions, thoughts, comments, questions, concerns? I'm totally open to suggestions. Yeah, are we good with this? We good? We good? Yeah, any changes?
He looks at me.
Yeah.
So, President Land, so if we're gonna make some decisions tonight, then I would encourage you to read out what those are exactly for the
And then we
record.
could do it.
And then you can either adopt it tonight as an action item, or we can agendize it at the next board meeting in January.
Okay, I'm open to either, so whatever everybody thinks is best, so. If we think this is good, we can either put this on consent for next time or vote on this now. It's up to you guys. Thoughts?
So if I wanted to, I'm still on, sorry. Good thing I didn't say I'm just kidding. If I wanted to add on, does anybody have a problem with, I don't want to be the only trustee who has 2 assigned committees, but I was wondering if I can add on. You said there could be.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I can add on the equity
Equity.
advisory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a.
No, we actually, like I
you
said,
don't mind me still
superintendent,
coming.
Yeah, we. can do that.
when we formulated the agenda, we did actually talk about this and said that this was what we wanted to have.
Yeah,
So,
and.
because we didn't want to restrict anyone and there was because we had an email exchange where it was like, we only have one, because
Yeah.
I've been in districts where it's always two, and we have
Yes.
had two in the past.
Right.
So now you're the second one, and we're welcome aboard
Well,
to
I'm
the
also
Equity
passionate about
Advisory.
The budget, but I don't want to be on all the committees because that can be right.
I was gonna say that was three, and then you
I know.
can't.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so you gotta pick and choose.
Right.
You'll be on budget with me or equity. Which one do you want?
I want them all.
I
I'm
know,
passionate about
we
all.
rotate.
You're
That's
good
great.
at budget though.
We rotate.
I am good at budget, I know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And citizen oversight, by the way, does talk about budgets quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay,
you
okay.
might like it.
You're gonna learn all about the budgets of the bonds and the measures. Yeah, right? Anyway,
It's the best committee.
there you go.
It's what, it's
All
what.
right. So we should bring it back. Okay, so we made an adjustment, and can we bring this back next time?
Correct.
Okay.
Would you like it on the consent agenda?
That's fine.
Great.
So
Okay.
are there any other changes from anybody
Well,
else or just?
Trustee Griffin, would you mind if I tagged along with you with Peninsula at graduation?
Oh, there you go.
Well, everybody seems to be overlooking the point. You can do almost anything you
Yeah,
want.
Right.
And we've had people who wanted to give diplomas to their children and people who didn't. We've had people who have swapped
I see.
because they knew somebody.
Okay.
So while this is a guideline, I don't take it as a hard and fast
Yeah.
rule.
Right, right.
That's
Which
we're
is why
kinda
I'm not-
chit-chatting. We
Yeah.
talked philosophy, and we wanted to explain what we do in general,
Yeah.
and because there's a lot of new board members, so I
Yeah.
kind of wanted to give that history before we kind of.
Yeah.
Why don't we just vote on it tonight? I mean.
I think for
that's
Char's
just-
sake. we're
Oh,
gonna make it
I'm
easy.
sorry,
need to-
sure. Yeah. go ahead.
She wants to make it official, like,
Yeah, no
yeah,
worries, no worries.
okay, and we'll put it on consent, and that'll be fun.
Sounds
All right,
All right.
If you
Well-
notice, I didn't have anything to say about it because I'm gonna do what I want.
Wow.
yeah, I kind of know that, but you know where you have to go, you know where you gotta
I
go.
mean, it's always worked out. And I think
Yeah.
people have understood desires and made it happen the right way. So.
Yeah. And we can do that too.
Awesome.
All right, cool.
Sounds great.
With that, any requested board items?
My apologies. You have one other item you were going to mention.
Oh, yes, sorry. I am running for, I'm a delegate assembly member this year, and I'm up for reelection, and I'd like your support in nominating to go forward for the next 2 years.
No,
Would that be okay?
no.
No?
Of course.
Yes, yes, yes. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
What?
It's so CSBA, our California School Boards Association. I've been elected a number of times to the delegate assembly, which is the school board
Okay,
representatives
okay,
at the
alright.
state level. And I represent area 5, which is our area,
Okay.
which is southern San Mateo and 5A is San Francisco, 5B is San Mateo area.
Okay.
And I'm trying to nominating myself and
Mhm.
just need your support in kind of officially so that I can move forward and be part of the voting
Yeah.
when it goes out to everybody.
Yeah, go
Is that
for it.
cool?
That's great. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I
Yeah.
needed to say.
We should all, we all second your nomination.
There we go. Cool. That's all I needed, because then what happens is in a month or two, then it comes around and like who's been nominated, and we all vote in our region for
Right.
who we went in. So,
Makes sense.
okay. Hopefully. All right. With that,
Yay.
is there any requested board items?
Yes,
Yes.
we received an email from some students. They wanted to put their flag raising, I'm not sure where they are in the process, but if we could put that on the agenda if it's ready.
Yes.
Yes.
If they get
it's ready.
Yeah, we have a policy on
Right.
what flags we fly on our campuses. So we're working with them directly. We've been working with them for the last several weeks in supporting them with our process and getting the appropriate signatures. So if they're able to grab all those signatures, then it'll be on the next board agenda.
Thank you.
And that's just following our flag procedures that we
Policy, yeah.
voted a couple of years ago. Good. Okay. Any other agenda items?
No.
Nope. All right. With that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting, and we did it by 9:15. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Right.